Welcome to Behind the Book. Today's guest is Adam Kolozetti from Enta Solutions. On today's episode, the power of connection and really what that means in the world of business. Stay tuned for more. Welcome to Behind the Book, where I am your guide, Heather Andrews, unraveling the captivating stories from behind the pages. Join me as I sit down with authors from the literary landscape to delve into challenges, inspirations, and untold tales that breathe life into their written worlds. Welcome back to Behind the Book. And in the last episode, we talked to Adam Kolozetti, who is back in the studio today with me. So smile and wave, yeah. And we talked a little bit about how he left the world of aerospace engineering to go into become a business owner and with co-owner Caitlin Bullock. And then they decided to dive into the world of writing, which to support what they're doing in their company and the lives that they're changing and the corporations that they're changing. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the power of connection. So there's power of connection in the world of engineering, as we know, but we're going to ask Adam the power of connection in your chapter. Tell me a little bit about what writing your chapter was like for you.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, we touched on it last episode. I wrote it in one sitting and then went back and tweaked a few paragraphs and things like that nature. But I think what was enjoyable for me was what I started out writing was not what I finished up with, which is kind of cool. Your mind just goes somewhere maybe a little bit unexpected.
Yeah.
But I think once it was written, I was really proud of it. I thought it was good. But it took me almost a week to submit it because I don't know, I've never written before. There's all of a sudden this, you're with all these collab authors who are in themselves just these great, amazing people in their spaces and have accomplished amazing things. And you're like, oh my God, you have this imposter syndrome that just rears its head. And you're like, is this even worthy of, relative to the rest of the group? So that was an interesting kind of experience, kind of going through that. And then of course I submitted it. And then after talking with all the others, they all had the exact same experience.
Yeah.
So they're all like, well, was it any good or was, should I throw it out, right? So I think the process itself was more emotional maybe than I had expected, which I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I think it is an emotional topic.
Yeah.
So my topic specifically is kind of my story, my journey from engineering into culture, things that I've seen, why I sort of became passionate about it, and it really talks a lot about connection.
Yeah.
This idea that we work together every day. Yeah. Let's say you and I.
Yeah.
But a lot of our interactions are transactional. Did you give me that thing? Can I have that paper? Can I do this? They're very work related. Even if we go a little bit deeper, often it's about a work event.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever been in a situation where you've gone out for drinks with coworkers and you sit around and what do you talk about? Work, because you've got nothing else to talk about, right? And someone's like, oh my God, can we talk about anything but work? You're like, okay. So, and then there's this awkwardness. And when I talk about connection, the only way to create connection is really through some vulnerability.
Yeah, you got it.
If I want to connect to you and we don't have 10 years of growing up in the playground together and all that kind of stuff, then the only real way to do it in a short amount of time is to be like, Heather, this is something that happened to me on the weekend that's, that's very personal and I don't have to share it with you. And what happens is, I think that people are so starved for connection that as soon as one person opens that space, everyone else just dives in. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And as facilitators, often that's really all we're doing is we'll ask a question, something you might not share. So for example, we'll say, hey, introduce who you are, what you do at the company, and tell us something interesting about yourself that not everybody knows.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, like what? I'm like, I don't know. Are you a race car driver? Do you own 6 dogs? Did you used to run track at school? And you'd be amazed at how many people are like, oh, well, I don't know, I'm an opera singer on the weekend. And their coworkers are like, what? We've worked together for like 15 years. I didn't know you're an opera singer, right? Right? And then another person's like, well, yeah, I play in a band at Stampede. What? And people are just like blown away. And then, sometimes we take that a step further, like, great, come up with a childhood memory. Share a childhood memory and why it might have impacted you. So people talk about their parents. People will then maybe think about like, oh, this happened to me and I used to play on a volleyball team or whatever. And people will cry and emotions will come out. And then all of a sudden, around the table, you have a group of people that have worked together for years in some cases, connecting on a level so much deeper and more personal.
Yeah.
That you can almost feel the like energy flowing through the room. And I think someone might ask, well, what does that have to do with business? What does that have to do with like getting the job done that we're doing? And I would say, well, what we then notice, because usually we go from there into something around like strategy or improvement or whatever, productivity goes through the roof.
Yeah.
People are in a space where like there's room for creativity and innovation. Mm-hmm. So like you get better ideas coming out of it. Yeah. You get a willingness to understand your point of view versus maybe you would just kind of argue it at a different level. Okay. So now all of a sudden you're executing at a whole different level of productivity, innovation, and creativity, which I'm sure there's not a business owner out there or leader who's not going to say, that's what I've been trying to get my team to do forever, right? So, that's kind of what my chapter is about.
Yeah, I love it. And so thank you for sharing about the imposter syndrome, because, you are correct that as a publisher, right, I often hear, I can't write, I don't have a story, and I'm sitting here listening to them tell me their story, and I'm like, yes, you do. And and people just don't realize how inspiring they are. Mm-hmm. And I also think society doesn't allow us to celebrate maybe how inspiring we might be as individuals. And I love how you say vulnerability, because people need a place to be safe, and that exchange of vulnerability allows people to be safe. And then when there is an idea that comes up toward a project, they're like, hey, I can express that here. Mm-hmm. And that is such a beautiful place to be in. Not that those places should be beautiful, but they should be safe. Mm-hmm. And I love that you explained that, because it's because I think imposter syndrome comes even to the boardroom table in culture, where people just feel like, I can't do this. Like I'm here and I have this job, but I don't know, maybe my idea is not so good. And I think that you are correct when you mention all of the imposter syndrome and really what this was like, and how it's not going to be the same on the other end when you submit something, and just really those collective thoughts, because every single person, whether they're here or president of a country, they all have that feeling of, oh, I don't know, my story might not be worthy of worthy. Well, that's why you have a team to help you make it worthy of reading and support, because we don't do anything alone. Right? But I love in your chapter where you say to boldly go where no one's really gone before. And with you going from, aerospace engineer, because to many that would be like, oh man, he had the ultimate job. Like, why would he leave
It was
this?
Cool stuff. It was cool stuff. Yeah.
But recognizing that, and really to take into that step to where to boldly go, because it takes courage to leave a job and to leave a title and to leave that set paycheck to go into something to make a difference. And you did go boldly where no one really has gone before. And that's something to really be proud of. And that's the thing too, until you actually go back and read your story, you're like, wow, I did boldly go. And so you cover so many aspects in your chapter to really bring in that boldly go, because if you want something different, you have to be bold and go after it. And you should really just give yourself a pat on the back for that, because what you've created and the lives that you're impacting, and make that decision, and you're also showing that to your kids.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I definitely used growing up, I loved Star Trek, so that's where the to boldly go comes from, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, for me, like my personal values around courage and wonder. To me, that's just kind of is, after years of contemplating it and whittling it down, that's it. So, when you talk about the imposter syndrome, and you kind of just got to lean into it, just kind of go for it. And you feel deeply vulnerable when you write something where paint a picture or create any sort of art.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's so powerful about it, is that it comes from a place that's deeply you. And you know, I kind of had to just decide for myself. I was like, well, if the world, no one likes it and everyone hates it, well, I like it. Then I got to be okay with that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it reads well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so
I just
that's ultimately, I think, the point, to be courageous, to do things in your life, not just at work, but personally. I think if we have that connection and it's strong, we have people that inspire us. If we have that space to be creative, we're more likely to find that you know, that 15 seconds of courage sometimes that it takes to like push submit or do whatever.
love that.
So yeah, that's my chapter. So hopefully you check it out and let me know what you think.
So as we wrap up, where can people reach out to you, Adam?
Honestly, easiest way is on LinkedIn. You can find me. There's not a lot of Kolozettis out there. Else the website, entasolutions.org. But yeah, shoot me a note. Happy to chat and connect with you.
So as you heard it today, you know, to step into that power of connection, because everybody needs a place to belong. And sometimes when you dig into the power of your story, it leads into power of connection, and you can take a new sense of courage and curiosity and wonderment, as Adam said, to really go into a world of boldly to where you've never gone before. And you might find some really cool things there, just like Adam did with the creation of his company and diving into the world of writing. On the next episode, stay tuned and we'll get some advice out of Adam as well. As we close another chapter on Behind the Book, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our wonderful authors for sharing their stories. I'm Heather Andrews, reminding you that the adventure doesn't end here.